I'm Ayed Abu Eqtaish, the Accountability Program Director at Defense for Children International Palestine. DCIP was established 30 years ago, and the main purpose of the organization was to defend Palestinian children in the Israeli military legal system, children who are arrested and interrogated by the Israeli authorities. Unfortunately, until now, we are doing the same job. But during that period, DCI work expanded because we started just to defend Palestinian children in front of the Israeli military legal system. But at some point, maybe after 10 years of our inception, we discovered that almost it's impossible to reach justice through the Israeli military courthouses. So we started to document the Israeli violations to Palestinian children who are arrested and interrogated and prosecuted in the Israeli military legal system, and use the evidence that we collect from children in our advocacy to advocate for respecting, protecting, and fulfilling the rights of Palestinian children. And after that, we started working on other child right violations, mainly the right to life and other children's rights that have been enshrined in the Convention on the Rights of the Child, whether these rights have been violated by the Israeli authorities or the Palestinian Authority. The statistics indicate that Palestine, it's the half of Palestinian population are children under the age of 18. And I think that what's happened in Jenin during last week, it's not new for Jenin and for the West Bank, especially during this year. The full-scale area and the ground invasion to Jenin was preceded by previous raids against Jenin city and Jenin camp. According to the information of DCIP, out of the 28 Palestinian children who were killed in the West Bank, 13 of them are from Jenin Governorate. So during the last invasion, against Jenin, we documented the killing of 4 Palestinian children. The Israeli authorities claim that all people who were killed during that invasion were competent, where the video footage and the documentation of all organizations shows that some of Palestinian children, or almost all of them, they were not taking part in hostilities when they were killed by the Israeli authorities. At least we saw 2 videos for 2 Palestinian children who were killed during the last invasion, and the footages shows that those children were not taking part of hostilities when the Israelis shot and killed them. Yesterday, we just saw a video of the killing of a Palestinian child from Fahma. His name is Hardan. His family name is Hardan, and the videos shows that he was even didn't carrying a stone when he was shot by an Israeli sniper at the entrance of Al-Amal Hospital in Jenin. And I think that this video and other videos refute the Israeli allegations that they just target combatants this is the Israeli justification or the moral justification for killing civilians, that they lie about the circumstances when they shoot and kill Palestinian children. The way by which we reflected before seeing the video, just through interviewing eyewitnesses, and in our news alert on the second day of the invasion, we reflect the situation as it is, that there was no confrontation when that child has been killed between Palestinians and the Israeli army, and but many of the Israeli snipers were in the rooftops of many of the Palestinian buildings, and they shot that child in front of Al-Amal Hospital. And the media agency approached the Israeli officials, and before releasing the video that shows the killing of that child, and they said or insist that all who were killed in Jenin were competent. So we believe that Palestinian children were killed in a situation that the Israeli army can avoid shooting to kill them, but because of the impunity that Israeli soldiers enjoy and the lack of accountability, it's like a green light for them in order to shoot and kill Palestinians, among them children. So in addition to the number of Palestinian children who were killed in Jenin camps, whether during the last invasion or before, Israel do not abide to its legal obligation under international humanitarian law, and they didn't respect the principle of proportionality and distinction. They target civilians and civilian infrastructures. Even Palestinian hospitals were under attack during the last invasion against Jenin. The water, electricity services were destroyed, in addition to the psychological situation of Palestinian children who were in Jenin camp to be under constant threat of being killed by the Israeli military and being or hearing the sounds of shooting, bombardments, and all these activities of the Israeli army. Even the Secretary General of the United Nations regarded that Israel, under the pretext of countering terrorism, they do not abide to their legal obligation under international humanitarian law. We regard that this is part of Israeli media strategy, that during all the military invasions to Palestinian areas, and whenever they launch assault against Gaza or the West Bank, we prepare for the media campaign like preparing for the military campaign. For example, at the beginning of the Second Intifada, when it was totally civilian, the main message from the Israelis that Palestinian mothers are sending their children in order to be used like human shields to shield militants from the Israeli army. And at that time, almost all media agencies cover this issue, and they forget about what's the atrocities that Israel is committing against Palestinians during that time. During the invasion to Jenin camp in the year 2002, the main message from the Israelis that Palestinians are misusing ambulance cars to transport militants from one place to another place, and it attracted the attention of the media, and they forget about the atrocities that Israel is committing during that invasion. And one of the Gaza assault, the main message from the Israel that Palestinians are misusing ambulance or Anarwa cars or vehicles in order to transport militants from one place to another place. And that message attracted the attention of the media. So This disinformation from the Israelis attracts the attention of the media and forget about the crimes that committed from Israel. For Israel, they know exactly that they are lying, but at least this lie will attract the attention of the media in order to concentrate on it and forget about all the war crimes and crimes against humanity that Israel is committing against Palestinians during their military assault. So it's not important for Israel whether there is further investigations and the media discover that the Israeli story is not accurate and it's false or whatever, but it's its purpose at that time to alleviate the attention of the media from what's going on the ground to concentrate on other issues. Frankly speaking, so far we concentrate on the fatalities in our documentation to highlight the violation to the right to life. But among the videos that we saw how the Israeli army invading Palestinian homes and searching their IDs in a very terrifying manner, especially for Palestinian children, and using dogs and terrifying Palestinian children in addition to occupying their houses and using them as human shields. We documented in previous Israeli raids, but for us as an organization, at the time being, we are trying to get all information related to the violation to the right to life. But this is part of the Israeli practices. It's not new for the organization. For example, in Jenin, last year, we documented the case where the Israeli soldiers use one of the Palestinian girls as a human shield. So we documented using Palestinian child as a human shield in Nablus. We documented using 4 children as a human shields in Jericho, Abd al-Jabbar camp. We documented cases where the Israeli army uses dogs against Palestinian children, and we produced videos and news alerts about these incidents. So this is part of the Israeli strategy to terrify the whole Palestinian community whenever there is a military assault against any of these communities. Mainly, we regard that UN and the Secretary General of the UN both to the Israeli diplomatic and political pressure, and the US also diplomatic and political pressure. This was in the year 2015, we tried to include the name of the Israeli army at that list when Israel killed more than 550 Palestinian children in Gaza Strip during the year 2014. So at that time, the representative of the Secretary General in Children and Armed Conflict recommended to include the name of the Israeli army, but the Secretary General didn't include the name of the Israeli army, and this is because of political and diplomatic pressure. And we regard that listing armies and armed group, it's more based on political reasons, not human rights reasons, because we believe that the Israeli army is the most appropriate army to be listed in the Secretary General of the UN for armies and armed groups that violate children's rights for the conduct of the Israeli army in the occupied Palestinian territories, not just this year, but during the previous year. So we believe that the Israeli army should be included in every report of the Secretary General or in his list. And the attack against DCI and other Palestinian organizations who try to expose the Israeli violation to Palestinian civilians, it's not new. It didn't start when Israel listed this organization as terrorist organization before there was attack, but Israel were using other civil society organization in order to attack Palestinian civil society organizations. So the accusation against these entities, whenever they criticize the Israeli practices in the occupied territories, it's ready. Either they are terrorist or affiliate terrorist organization or anti-Semitic people or denying the Holocaust or whatever of these ready accusation against these entities, because Israel now, they do not, it doesn't bear anybody that criticize its practices. For example, during the past few days, the Secretary General of the United Nations regards that justifying counterterrorism as justification for not abiding to its legal obligations. So he himself exposed to attack from Israel because he regards that Israel do not respect its obligation under international humanitarian law. So anybody, whether he is Palestinian, Israeli, international, criticize the practice of Israel will be under attack. So the main purpose of to silence this organization and to paralyze this organization, because Israel can't bury this organization with administrative and bureaucratic way. So the way to eliminate and get rid of this organization is to list them as terrorist organization, to kill this organization. And these allegations based on there is no evidence to support this allegation, and this is what many European countries communicate to Israel, that they didn't receive any evidence to support this allegation, but still Israel insists that these organizations are affiliated terrorist organization in order to discredit and this organization and to prevent them from operating and exposing the Israeli crimes against Palestinian civilians in the occupied Palestinian territories. We regard that at this time, the whole international humanitarian law and international human rights law is at stake, because during the last 70 years or more, the international community succeeded in setting the principles for international human rights law and international humanitarian law, but the problem is with enforcing and implementing these standards and principles when it comes to Israel practices in the occupied Palestinian territories. So we believe that it's the role of the international community to punish Israel and to put pressure on Israel to abide to its legal obligation under international humanitarian law and the international human rights law. Because as long as there is no accountability for these practices, Israel will go on in these crimes against Palestinians who are living in the occupied Palestinian territories. Because, for example, during the last 10 years, the Human Rights Council established many investigation committee to investigate the Israeli crimes in the occupied territories, and they came to almost the same conclusion that Israel commit crimes against war crimes and crimes against humanity, but this recommendation has not been materialized in actions against Israel to stop it from continuing these crimes against Palestinians in the occupied territories. And as long as there is no sanctions against Israel, it's like a green light for Israel to continue its crimes against Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territories. This is the Israeli approach, because Israel is presenting itself as the only democracy in the Middle East, but in fact, the situation is contrary, different on the ground. And as I told you, that this is part of the Israeli strategy, that anybody who criticizes the Israeli practices, he will be under attack, and he will be asked to retract his statement or to apologize to Israel because of what he or she said. So for me, it's normal that Israel behave in this way against anybody who try to ask what she should ask.